What is going on, my fellow fat kids? The NHL expansion protection list recently came out, so now seems like the best time to do fixing the Seattle Kraken. It would take too long to show each selection individually and talk about each selection, so instead I will show the final roster and talk about any moves that I think need explaining, and then show what side deals I made. So, here's the roster I made. You have about 3 seconds if you want to pause the video and look at it, because now we're going to get into goaltending. The reason that I want to talk about goaltending is because I did not take Carey Price. I know that he just came off an incredible playoff run, but in 3 out of his last 4 regular seasons, he's been a below average goalie. He's been below a 910 in all 3 of those seasons, even closer to a 900 in most of them. He would be nice to have, even if just for name recognition, but not at his $10.5 million cap hit until he's 40 years old. Instead of Price, I opted to take Bishop as our hopeful starter, and if Bishop isn't healthy for the start of the season, I'm sure Vancouver would give up some assets for us to take Holtby off their hands. Holtby's able to split the crease with Drieger if need be, and Bishop being on LTIR lets us do that. Also, I signed Hutton in free agency as a third string goalie if that ends up being necessary. Now that we have our crease dealt with, let's talk about another part of the team that stands out like a sore thumb, PK Subban. I decided to take Subban not because I think he can bounce back to an elite defender, but because Seattle needs to build a fan base from scratch, and having a personality like Subban on your team will do wonders in accomplishing that. Fun fact, did you know that PK Subban has more Instagram followers than Connor McDavid? Subban will put plenty of new eyes onto the Kraken. His $9 million contract is off the books this upcoming offseason, so they will only have to worry about that for the inaugural season. PK Subban also isn't as bad nowadays as people would lead you to believe. I think it's imperative, mostly for off-ice reasons, for Seattle to take Subban. The other thing that I want to get right into is my IR list. I took both Kasha and Clefbaum, 2 players who are injury-ridden, but if they manage to stay healthy, both can be important long-term pieces of this team. If not, neither Edmonton nor Boston had anything amazing on the table to take, so we're not missing out on too much, to be honest. Now there's just one final thing I want to discuss before getting into the trades, and that is the Leafs situation. As we all know, the Leafs just acquired Jared McCann and are now more than likely going to lose him in the expansion draft. I see Leafs fans all over getting mad at this, but it's actually a very smart move. The Leafs gave up next to nothing to acquire McCann, and now he is the one being taken in the expansion draft. So, if you look at it like Seattle taking Hollander in a 7th from Toronto rather than McCann, then it looks a lot better. When the alternative was losing Kerfoot or Dermott, that seems like a pretty sweet deal. Good job, Dubas. Okay, that's all that I wanted to discuss. Now it's finally time to get into the side deals that I made. First off, we're taking on the final 2 years of Okposo's contract, where once he's buried, he only runs us about $4.8 million on the cap for the next 2 seasons. In return, we get their 2nd round pick, which is 32nd overall and pretty much a 1st round pick. If I was Buffalo, I would not do this move because I personally cannot see them needing cap space in the next 2 seasons. But this trade has been rumored for a while now, so if it's offered by Buffalo, I'm 100% taking it if I'm Seattle. Next up, we're getting a 2nd round pick this year for Victor Rask. Victor Rask played pretty well this year alongside Kaprizov, but is far from worth his $4 million AAV. It was shown by buying out Parise and Suter that Minnesota is pretty desperate to clear cap for whatever offseason plan they have in stored. So I plan to take full advantage of that and take the last year of Rask contract for a 2nd round pick, which is definitely an overpay, but if they need cap space, this is a way to get it. Next up, we get a 3rd from New York to take Eberle. It's clear that they want Seattle to take him, or else he would have been protected over Martin. If I'm Seattle, this is honestly the guy I want anyways, as he has been amazing this season. But I'm sure Ron Francis can put up an Oscar-worthy performance and act like he's interested in someone else to squeeze at least something extra out of New York to take the guy that they want us to take. Next up, we have Jonathan Quick for a 1st either next year or the year after, depending on which LA chooses. LA's 1st this year is too high of a pick to be traded, so at least in theory, they get to trade a lower 1st rounder. This is one of the worst contracts Seattle will be taking, but they also have the benefit of the possibility of this ending up like San Jose's pick did for Ottawa, which is being way, way higher than expected. I immediately bought out Quick once this deal was made. Final bad contract for pick trade that I made is to Philadelphia, where we get the 14th overall pick to take the final 3 years of Jakub Voracek's $8.25 million deal. After the Ellis trade, it seems like Philly wants to really go all in this season, and this Voracek contract is one that they need to get off the books to hopefully be big players in free agency. Philly also has a surplus of young players and prospects, so that first round pick is pretty expendable. Seattle gets a player who is undebatably vastly overpaid, but can still hopefully play top 6 minutes for them for the entire duration of this contract. On the screen now, you can see the one player flipping trade that I made, the bio penalty for Jonathan Quick, the burying penalty for Kyle Okposo, and the picks that we have rounded up throughout all of our trades. I make this Radek Simek move solely for cap reasons. Winnipeg is in need of defense as it is, and we took a defender from them in Niku, so that makes their need for a defender even more desperate. So we just grab a third round pick for Simek, which allows us to stay under the cap. So let's just quickly take one final look at the lineup, and that will be the video. I think that this is a very solid lineup. Most expansion teams struggle with scoring, but I honestly cannot see that being the case with Seattle. Where I could see them having issues is in net if Bishop can't stay healthy. If Minnesota won't do that Rask deal, then just take Kraken in and the problem is solved. Thanks for watching.